Being well fed. Welcome back to Tampa City Council. Can you call the roll, please?
Miranda. Here. Maniscalco. Here. Hurtak. Here. Young. Here. Vieira. Here. Carlson and Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to have a motion to open the 1:30 public hearings. We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Yeah. Councilman Carlson sent a memo while we were at lunch saying he had an emergency he had to respond to and will not be returning to council this afternoon. So he is absent.
Motion to reschedule file number SU1 25-59C to April 16th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. And that motion is due to a misnotice and it could not be heard. So that's why it's being rescheduled to April 16th, 2026, 1:30 p.m. at.
I already did.
Oh, did you? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Did the whole night.
He was pointing at you like you missed something. Yeah. What?
Who made the motion to second? I'm just waiting, I'm sorry.
Shush.
I made the.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. That's enough of yous.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go on to item number 62. If you are here to speak to item 62, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our clerk.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth and the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Maria Pettisnell from the legal department. Item number 62 is regarding file number FDN 25-156, which is a public hearing for City Council to consider a recommended order related to a petition for review for a matter of FDN 25-156 for the property located at 4312 West Laurel Street. A hearing officer conducted a review hearing on December 5th, 2025, pursuant to City of Tampa Code Section 27-61, subsection J1C. That hearing officer filed a recommended order granting a petition and approving a legal non-conforming use of the property located at 4312 West Laurel Street. I've provided a copy of the recommended order previously, and you also have a copy before you for this hearing in order to take your next action. And now, pursuant to Code Section 27-61, we're at the phase where City Council should take action regarding the recommended order. Code Section 27-61, subsection J1E, 3 gives the provisions on the actions that City Council can take regarding the recommended order. City Council can adopt the recommended order as final, reject the recommended order, or modify the recommended order. 27-61 goes on to state the City Council may not reject or modify any findings of facts reached by the hearing officer. And it gives some exceptions if City Council determines that a finding of fact is not based on competent substantial evidence contained in the record, or that a finding of fact does not comply with the essential requirements of law. City Council may remand the matter back to the hearing officer. And lastly, Code Section 27-61 goes on to say that if City Council rejects or modifies a conclusion of law, it must state with particularity in the final order its reasons. It must make a finding that its substitution of a conclusion of law is as or more reasonable than that which was rejected or modified. Regarding this matter, as I previously stated, the de novo hearing already took place. This is only before you to consider the recommended order which you have in your possession. The City of Tampa did not file a request for oral arguments or exceptions regarding this matter. So I will turn it over to Mr. Shelby if you have any questions, but you have the recommended order before you, and I previously provided the record regarding this matter.
Mr. Shelby.
Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. I just want to affirm everything that Ms. Pettis-Mackle did state with regard to the review of your review under 27-61. you will not be hearing from anybody other than what you've heard procedurally, because, again, there are no exceptions to this recommended order, and there is no request for oral argument. So my suggestion is that having the opportunity to review the order, and then again, you heard the options that you have with regard to taking action on it. Thank you.
Okay. You understand? This is the first time you've gone through this, right? Okay. Yes. So, okay. So
And again,
can you-
for everybody's
Thank
benefit,
you.
this, and Ms. Mackle can certainly augment this, this is a process that the code allows to bypass having a de novo hearing before the city council. Is that correct? Or for a final decision, it automatically goes to a hearing officer?
A hearing officer conducts the de novo review hearing.
The hearing officer conducts the de novo hearing on a formal decision.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make clear on that. Thank you. And this is the process that it obviates the need within the code for you to go through the findings of fact and the conclusions of law. Those have all been provided for you in the formal order with a conclusion and a recommendation. So again, your choices are to accept it, accept the recommendation, or reject the recommendation, or if you modify it, there are certain parameters which we can go through, but it's very limited as to what you can do with wanting to change the recommendation and return with a different order. So my suggestion would be, if you haven't had the opportunity to read this now, previously, my recommendation would be that you take a few minutes to do that now, so you have a level of comfort. If you have any questions, I'd be able to answer them. But again, what you have before you is something that no exceptions have been filed, exceptions to the order, and there is no request for an oral argument before City Council. So that being the case, City Council can open it up on its own, and I certainly would not have a recommendation, because there's nothing upon which to base the recommendation on, so I'm not going to pass judgment on that. But if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Could you just explain in plain language for the council persons that may have not gone through this before, what it means if we adopt the recommended final order, or reject or modify, what that means in plain language?
Well, in this case, you want to be specific to this case?
Yes.
If in this case, the recommendation shows that the petitioner, and I'm quoting from it, the petitioner has met its burden of proof and shown by a preponderance of the evidence a duplex was lawfully approved and recognized by the city for over 70 years. Accordingly, the hearing officer states, I recommend the Tampa City Council approve the petitioner's petition and reverse the city's denial of the petitioner's request to certify the legal non-conforming use of the property as a duplex. And if you have any questions as to what that means, we'll talk about that. But basically, it's to reverse a decision by the zoning administrator and grant the property in question as a legal non-conforming use.
Got it? Okay, good. Councilman Miranda?
I'm just thinking out to myself, I said, wait a minute, I just got this right now. I don't know about other council members,
Yeah, it was in the record, yeah.
right? So now I gotta read all this, digest it, and make a decision within 15 minutes by the time we finish talking. They've had it for how long?
Actually, counsel, in all fairness, and you should know about this, and maybe we need to change the process in order to be able to be briefed on it. But what happens is, when this is even first set by City Council on the agenda where you actually set hearings for review,
Right.
the resolution attaches this order to it, and that is in the backup material.
Yeah.
But that being the case, it also shows up, when it shows up on the agenda for the hearing review, under the agenda for that number in on base. And what this is doing is, this is for those council members, and if we do need to have a briefing in advance of this to discuss this privately, I'm going to take that under advisement, and perhaps we can do this, so you're not in a position where you are going to be presented with this for the first time. And I apologize for that, but it may mean changing the process, and maybe with the code being revised, maybe we'll have that opportunity.
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna vote one way or the other. I haven't read this. For me to digest this and read it in 15 minutes, that's what it's gonna be. would be a concept of treason on both sides of the issue, on my own standards and on the public standard. I haven't read this and digested it, and I'm supposed to vote on it.
I'll get Councilman Vera first. Councilman Vera?
Yeah, I would say that perhaps for, excuse
And
me.
I'm not objecting to it, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. And I would say that maybe perhaps, and this isn't on you, Marty, because you wouldn't know, that it would be good to at least let council members know that something like this coming up, we're going to get an order and go, okay, do you wish to talk about it just before? And again, like nothing, no ball was dropped or anything of that nature, just for the future, perhaps an idea. If council members, and for Councilman Miranda, maybe we could hear from the parties for 5 minutes each without
No.
questions.
No, you
No,
can't.
We can't.
No,
We may not.
No,
Okay.
you can't. Well,
Then
here's
disregard.
the, I have to share with you, respectfully, this is maybe the first time that Councilwoman Young is facing this, but you've had these things come before you in the past, and Mr. Chairman, there used to be a time when there was no discussion, and you had to go forward with it. Perhaps there was oral argument, but in this case, there is none. But you actually, the last time this was heard, you actually gave the council
I'm
the
actually going to,
opportunity.
if we get past this point, that's my intention.
So your
Nothing further.
intention to
Thank
do-
you, sir.
Yeah. So this is so why don't we cut to that chase at where Mr. Shelby was going. What I'd like to do is take a short break of 10 minutes to allow folks that had not had the opportunity to review the documents, to review those documents, and we will reconvene at 1:53 p.m. So if you could review these documents, and we will reconvene at 1:53 p.m.
If we have to stay here and read them.
But yeah, well, you don't have to stay here, but you still have to be back here at 1:53.
And
I'm not leaving.
I will also make myself available to anybody individually. Again, the sunshine law
Right.
pertains here, so you
Okay.
cannot talk amongst yourselves, and please
Okay.
do not. But I will make myself available after you read it if you have any questions for me individually.
So 1:53 p.m. we will
Can you make it
reconvene.
1:55 and round up?
No.
Okay, I ask.
I'm not questioning your motive, Mr. Chairman, on that, but you mean to tell me you're gonna sit with each one individually and go over 10 minutes for each, be an hour and a half?
No, I have a feeling that the order speaks for itself, and if you have any procedural questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Yeah.
I have read it. It's pretty straightforward, pretty
Yeah,
clear. It's
I read it. We had them before. We did have them. We had all those, yeah. I was mostly concerned about Councilwoman Young, because I didn't know if she had gone through one of these hearings before. That's why I had prepped Marty Shelby to kind of provide a little bit more information, because this, a lot of the stuff is new to her. These things that come up only every once in a while.
And again, this does not happen often for council, but it does happen, and it's a very different process than having what you normally have, which
Right.
is a de novo
De
hearing.
novo hearing. So the magistrate had that.
The magistrate had it
Right.
over whatever period of time it took to do it.
Right, very good. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit more, you get your request. It's now going to be 1:55 p.m. Okay, so read at will. I tried at lunch, it didn't work.
Miranda. Maniscalco. Hurtak.
Here.
Young. Vieira. Carlson. Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. Okay, City Council's had an opportunity to review the magistrate's recommended order granting the petition approving legal non-conforming use. What is the will of council?
There's nothing for the petitioner to say?
If there's
You
any.
you have three, you could have three things. See that in front of your screen right there?
Yeah. Is it-
One person on council needs to say one of those three things.
And if there are any questions that you wish to
Legal.
have from me procedurally, I'll be happy to answer them. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney.
You don't need to take public comment?
You cannot take public comment.
Nope, this is it.
And
So,
and that's-
turn your
that's-
mic on.
Close? Do we need to close?
Well, it's
No, 'cause
really,
it's not a public-
you never opened a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
So can I go ahead and make a motion?
Yep,
What?
We need to
Oh, they
close.
should close it?
okay.
Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
We have motion to close, Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Viera. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the recommended order as final. And to clarify, that is, the recommended order says that the city council approve the petitioner's petition
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco to adopt.
and reverse the city's denial of the petitioner's request to certify the legal nonconforming use of the property as a duplex.
Or we just say adopt the recommended order as final.
Well,
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to add in the address 4312 West Laurel Street. So
And
we know
4312
which one we're
West
talking about.
Laurel Street.
For future reference, I think it's, if we, I mean, we'll go ahead and take it, but I think keeping it simple is best. So that-
Well, actually, accurate is the best.
Well, that's my afraid if we pick and choose the pieces of it, we might miss something. That's
Okay,
my-
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. that's
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Viera. Roll call, please.
Vieira.
Yes.
Carlson's absent. Miranda.
I'm gonna vote yes, and I'm gonna use it for something else later on. Thank you.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
And Clendenin.
Yes,
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson being absent at votes.
thank you so much. Okay, that is the conclusion of our public hearings. We're back to staff reports, 66
And 67. Good.
and 67 together, you're right. Who is here from staff to present 66 and 67? There she is. I think you're on mute still. You're still on mute. Oh, there you go. Now talk? No? Can you tell which side it's on? Okay. No. It's your PC. Ms. Colina?
Hear me now?
There you go. We got you.
Okay, perfect. I apologize. On my end, it was showing muted, or unmuted, rather.
No worries.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clendenin and members of City Council. Adriana Colina, Director of Logistics and Asset Management. I'm here on items 66 and 67. This is requesting your approval for the guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for the 40th Street Fleet Decentralization Project. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Does council have any questions? We're hearing 66 and 67. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Yes, we got an email at 10:30 last night about this, because I asked during my prep meeting. Well, I highlighted it, that's why I'm sending, here. Whoa, sorry. Yeah. So I highlighted what was sent to us last night, and Ms. Scharf has a copy to put up on the wall for the public to see. I went back and I looked at the CIP that we approved in September, and very clearly it showed it was a $12 million project in September. And now all of a sudden it has risen a third of the price. And in addition, so I don't know why it's been raised a third, but more importantly, how we're going to get that money is to bond another $7 million. So I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm not voting for it because $18 million for, did the scope change on this? You're muted again. And then, yeah, so. Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I'm not sure what's going on, and I so apologize. So a couple things I wanted to mention. So you mentioned September. Please keep in mind that it was an estimate until we received a guaranteed maximum price. When we entered into this process, which was actually in July of 2022, which is when the RFQ was designed and advertised, there was a range of 7 million to 14 million, and that was an estimate. Fast forward to where we are today, and a lot has happened. Tariffs have impacted the construction industry greatly. Right now, I can tell you steel is up 50%, aluminum is up 50%, copper is up 40%. And so are the other materials. In addition, immigration reform has impacted us greatly. Florida, it has affected the construction prices. 38% of immigrants made up the construction industry in Florida. Nationwide, that number is only 24%. That has impacted our industry. And then let's talk about the hurricanes that occurred in 2024. Materials became scarce for a lot of things, and that drove the cost up greatly, as has insurance. And so all of those things, fast forward to when we received the guaranteed maximum price from our design build team in December, that's when we got this number of the 16 million or 16.3. And I will tell you, when we were working with them and we received what the number looked like, we value engineered this project greatly. We went from a 2-story building that was going to house, the second story was going to house HR training because we needed a place for heavy equipment training to occur. And that has gone away. It is a 1-story building, and we're moving a modular where HR is currently training out of on 34th Street there. We were initially looking at 20 bays to service our heavy equipment because we are servicing water, we are servicing mobility, we are servicing contract admin out of that site, and then we are also servicing other general fund departments' heavy equipment because they can't come to Hannah. It's another 180 pieces of equipment. We've reduced that from 20 bays to 10 bays. We're sharing a lot of office space with mobility. So at no point were we just trying to pass on cost. We have value engineered and achieved savings in many areas, just trying to keep the cost realistic, but we're not exempt to what's going on in the world. And this is truly where we are today.
Thank you. It sounds like the scope of work has changed quite a bit. So I'm actually going to ask that you meet with each of us individually to brief us on this project and bring it back to us. This is just, I'm not okay with approving this right now. I'm also going to ask our finance group to find out what we can do to not bond this, because I'm not going to bond $7 million more. If that means that, I mean, for me, I'm speaking for me. If I really believe that we need to stick within the budget we had. I'm sorry it took so long to get to this point, but I mean, the scope of work obviously has been reduced. So then I'm also concerned about growing into this. So personally, I would like to continue this until we have the ability to talk to each council member separately for a briefing. How's April 16th for everybody?
Well, can I just say one more thing?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
when the guaranteed maximum price was received, that was in December of 2025. And that price is good for 60 days. And when we look into the holidays and we look at when we were able to get on the calendar, this is where we are right now. And we're already outside of the time. We did speak with A.J. Morgan and they were willing to hold with that price, but they told us copper has increased. And now we know just from last week, fuel prices have gone up 27 cents a gallon. That's going to affect. So the number is going to continue to go up. The scope has not changed. I can tell you that. We have value engineered, and that happens on all projects just to keep it, to keep the cost down. But the scope was to house fleet, to work on fleet. The scope was for mobility storage. The scope was for HR training. And that all has not changed. So I'm happy to talk with you later, but I want to go on record and I want everyone to understand we won't be looking at 16.3 million. It will be more.
It's 18.4 million.
Well, that is because that's the total cost, right? So we did the design, that's already paid for. The 16 is the biggest chunk of it, the 16.3, and that is for the construction. And that's what I want to lock in. So 18 million is just the total part of it, right? And we've already paid the design part. This is the construction part. The other part is just T&I and other costs that need to go into it, which will also go up.
I'm sorry
I'm
that
happy
you
to
didn't.
meet with you all, for sure. I don't want it to come
I'm
across different.
sorry that you did not choose to meet with each of us and tell us about this giant increase in price, but that's, we can't know that. We're literally just with what's in front of us right now, and this is just too much of a change. I'm not comfortable. I'm not going to approve it. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I'm not going forward with this.
I'll speak to it if nobody else wants to. I hear your concern, Councilwoman Hurtak, and generally I would say I would agree. But then I think what Ms. Kalina said is we all see it every day in the news, and we see it in our own pocketbooks. We see it when we go to Publix. We see it. You know, this economy is just terrible. So I think the point is, if this is the cost and we approved a design build, as opposed to an RFP. If this is the cost, this is the cost. And I think the choice is, do we need this or do we not need this? Because
The administration believes we need everything.
But I'm saying, well, that would be my question to council and to you. If you don't feel like we need the fleet maintenance decentralization project and we don't need the services that are going to be provided by this asset, then I think the vote would be clear. Then yeah, I would agree. I would agree that then you'd want to reject it. But if you feel like we're going to need those services, I don't, especially with what's going on in the Middle East and everything else, I don't expect prices to go down.
No, but I do expect them to stay within their means.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
no,
we don't control the international markets.
And I know you don't have a problem with bonding, but I do.
Well, I don't have a problem.
So-
I have a huge problem with bonding certain things. I don't have a problem with generational bonding.
Well, you tell me what you don't agree with bonding for, because you will bond everything. So
No.
give me one thing that you won't bond for.
Air conditioning for this convention center. Anything?
That's not a bondable issue.
Well, they were rolling it into the bond. They were. That's why I pushed back.
I'm
on
not
it.
supporting this because this is just way too much money, and I think that they need to bring the scope down even more to fit into the budget that they've been given. Or I'm sorry, the budget they promised the citizens.
But then what happens when
Oh, remember, it was an estimate, and I think that's an important part
Yeah,
of it.
gross
It was an
maximum
estimate,
price.
and estimates are subject to different changes, and here's where we are. And I also want to remind everyone that this is part of, when we talk about the solid waste relocation, this site, the Clark Avenue site, is part of that, because it's right next to solid waste, and it is included in that parcel. So if we have to stay, we have to stay, but understand that that's part of the property and part of the parcel that we're talking about in the relocation.
Councilman Bureau.
I know Councilwoman Hurtak is talking about in April, or what, March 5th, would a week potentially address your concerns?
Unfortunately, we have a completely packed schedule
Yeah.
at the next regular council meeting. We don't have room to put this on the agenda.
And I, for the record, I mean, I'd be willing to waive the rules if Ms. Kalina could speak to again, because if we have that 60-day guarantee starting in December, I don't want to tempt fate with that. But if another week, I mean, do you think if we were to, again, hypothetically, if we were to waive the rules and then give you a chance to meet with folks who want to speak with you within the next week, do you think that would further put us at risk? Because we're beyond the 60 days already. Do you think an additional week would further expose us?
The answer is yes. I can tell you when I spoke to the contractor, they told me it had already gone up 55,000 and that they were going to try to hold to that, but the cost had already gone up 55,000 when I told them we were going on March 5th. And so we would probably have to take that from our contingency. So it affects the project. And I know they're not going to, I mean, it's going up. Their costs are going up. So they're not going to eat the cost. I'm happy to speak with each of you. We have come before you at every stage of this process. And we come before you with this during the Great Eight as well. And just as soon as we have information, we have shared it with you. The price is going to go up, unfortunately. I've already tried. It has
you.
gone up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so this is decision time. So item 67 is a resolution. Anybody would like to read the resolution? What's that? Oh, it's a resolution, make certain, yeah, move the resolution. Anybody want to move the resolution 67?
What about 66?
I'm sorry, I'm 66 as well, I'm sorry.
I'll move the resolution for 66.
Okay. We have a motion for Councilman Maniscalco. Do we have a second?
That's providing, I don't mind voting for it, providing that we get from Ms. Colina's department the how chronologically it happened and what the costs are. Was that an estimate, or at the time you did, whoever did the handling of this, was it an estimate or was it a price guaranteed at that time?
So the 16.3 now is a guaranteed. It will not exceed that. The estimate prior to us receiving this from the contract, the design build team, was an estimate.
And if,
So this is a
if I
guarantee.
get
This
that
it
within
will
a
not
week,
pass.
then I'll vote for it. But I got to know that and I'm not doubting you one word, but just for the record, for the public, I want that done, how it happened and why it happened and so forth and so on. And I would just recommend that not only in your department, but other departments in the cities that are facing these same items, including buying automobiles or whatever. I saw 2 trucks today for $211,000, which means I don't know what kind of trucks they were, Fords, whatever it was, but you're paying over $100,000 now for a car, for a pickup. I don't know if it's a 4-door, 4-ton or whatever it is. But these things have got to be a little bit more closely, not gathered, but jointed to what you're buying. A car, what kind of car? How many, what's the need for it? That kind of stuff. I think we're entitled to that, the public's entitled to that, and that's what I want to see done. In fact, if you want to be like me, you don't buy a new car. You go to the auction, buy a used car with 10,000 miles, you buy 4 cars, you get the 5th one free. But that's how I do it, but I don't run the city. But I'm just telling you what I do. I'm not afraid of taking a car with 8,000 or 10,000 miles on it.
I have a motion, I have a second. Mr. Shelby first.
Just procedurally, council, just be aware, I understand what Council Member Miranda is requesting, but once you approve this, you've authorized the mayor to sign it, and there's no going back. So irrespective of what you learn or gain or hear after this vote, if you choose to vote for it today, then you lose jurisdiction.
That is the expenditure, and then the bonding is not. So
Well, the
67.
bonding is not. The
Right.
question is, ultimately, when you're presented with that issue, you're going to have to address
You're gonna
that.
have to bond it.
Correct.
Because we don't have any more money.
Correct. Councilwoman Hurtado.
So I do, obviously this is gonna pass and I'm incredibly disappointed. But why did it take you until now? Why didn't you meet with each of us right after December 11th, once you got it? I mean, I'm holding this project, design build project. Why didn't you come to us and individually brief us on the increase?
My apologies. Again, it wasn't an increase. It was an estimate that we were working with prior. And I did the briefing with you yesterday or the day before, whenever it was. And I do bring it up at that time. And I know I did not do individual briefings. It's not what I've done, only because it's not come up to be an issue when we have brought it up during the grade 8 updates or anything. I can certainly do that moving forward if you'd like.
Yes, I would, because again, I mean, this came out in December. You had plenty of time to tell us about it, to get any feedback, and to share what you've done. I really shouldn't have to wait until, and I did talk about it during my briefing, and I did ask, where is the money coming from? And then I didn't get that feedback until 10:30 last night. So therefore, I didn't see it until this morning, which means I didn't know we were going to have to bond $7 million more to make this work. That's my issue. Thank you.
Well, again, Councilman Miranda.
I've heard the word bonding 4 or 5 times now from different individuals. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And let me tell you why. When you bond for 30 years, that means that bond stays the interest rate at the same rate. Do you think money's going to stay at the same rate for 30 years? The answer is maybe and maybe not. So what does it cost you today if you didn't have the money to pay and you had to bond it? That same product 30 years from now may cost you more than what you're going to lose or make in bonding, because the prices are going to go up. A gallon of milk, when I was a kid, was a quarter. Now it's $4 or $5, depends where you go. So is the salary the same? No. But what I'm saying is 30 years from now, when you buy something, it's paid for at the end of 30 years. You don't pay the inflationary rate, what we're talking about right in this item, on something what it costs. This pen today, or this felt pen, whatever you want to call it today, in 30 years from now, will cost more than double what it costs today. You don't believe me? Look at the market price of everything. But it is what it is, and we're trying to do the best. I'm not for bonding or against bonding, but I look at it, when I borrow money, is that I'm going to pay it off, and my product is going to be worth double what I paid for it. That's what I do.
So Ms. Kalina, could you explain, for my clarification, what are the consequences of the city? If we chose not to move forward with this project, just period, we're not going to move forward with the project, what negative consequences would result from that decision?
So again, it's part of the property attached to the Spruce Street, the solid waste relocation project. So the footprint there would be reduced significantly. And then the building that the team is currently servicing our heavy equipment out of right now was built in 1977. And I'm not sure if any of you have been there. It needs significant work for them to continue operating out of that. It is very outdated. So that's going to be a cost as well.
Okay, so we won't be able to get the ROI on the return on that property that we're counting on from Spruce, and we would have to reinvest in that building. Okay, that's good. Councilwoman Hurtak, you have some of those?
I would love to be able to tour that, but we're not allowed to do tours anymore.
I think we're going to hear about that later. Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. Did you want to speak?
No, I just wanted to say, because I understand what Councilwoman Hurtak is her concerns with this, and I think it would, and maybe this is just I don't know if it's emotional or a conversation that we need to have, like, as a council moving forward. Because I've been noticing that, we have some, prices of things that go up, and a lot of that is attributed to cost of things that are going up because of tariffs, because of whatever is happening internationally. So, and again, and I don't know what, if it's a bigger, broader discussion that we need to have, but maybe with some of our, larger scale projects, to just have a little bit more like transparency with administration when they see that, okay, there's a possibility that something is going to go up due to, international, something that's happening international, so that we know and that we can be a little bit more, fiscally responsible. Because I mean, I myself, I don't like to have any debt either, and I know that is definitely a topic of conversation. So, and I also understand with Ms. Kalina with the project. So I see both sides, but I would like to see us maybe just in the future, if we're seeing that there's going to be price escalations because of what is happening, to just kind of let us know so we can kind of stay informed as well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, and I think just restating what Ms. Kalina said, and pretty much all of our projects, is that it's really critically important that we pay attention to the verbiage, what the estimates, and then the gross maximum price that comes out in these things. So until this gross maximum price number comes out, everything's on the table. So, but that's what's so critically important about all these projects, and that's that last final decision make. Really, this is where we're at right now. Just like, hey, you've got the South Howard flood project coming up, right? We don't have a gross maximum price on that. We don't have all the details yet, and as I've told them all along, and if the figures work, the figures work. If they don't work, they don't work. My vote will be pivotal on the final documents that get in my hand, the final I that's dotted and the T that's crossed, or whether I vote for it or not. But yeah, it's gross maximum price doesn't come out until the end. Yes, ma'am.
I'll just say that it's probably time that we look and see how many more projects we really can handle. Mm-hmm. Because that's why we talked about the CIP. That's why we talked about bonding on Tuesday, and it's going to get nothing but worse. And we're considering that property tax decrease that might happen, and like we can't yeah.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Roll call, please.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Hurtak?
No.
Young?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Carlson is absent. Miranda?
Yes.
And Clendenin?
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak voting no and Carlson being absent at vote.
Okay, who wants to move item 67? We have a motion, Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. Let's do a roll call on it.
Carlson's absent. Miranda,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak,
No.
Young,
We did 66, now we're doing 67.
Oh, yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
and Clendenin.
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak voting no and Carlson being absent at vote.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. And we are now moving to item 69.
That's it, so new business.
Is this the last item?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
I wasn't here, thank you, sir. On items, God, where was it? The Public Safety Master Plan one, was that continued to March 26th?
Yes, you asked
Okay.
for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was at the funeral, thank you.
We did
Just-
what you asked us to
Yep,
do.
you did.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Okay. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. Assistant Chief Ruth Kate here on behalf of Chief Burkall and the Tampa Police Department. And then we also have Richard Mutterback here from CAD. And then we also have John Thompson here from Wilder Architect to update you on this project. So the last time we were here with Council, we reported that we were in the permitting phase and that we were finishing up and ready to go to bid with this project. So since then, we have put it out to bid, and we have 3 contractors that have bid. Oh, there we go. That have bid on this project. So we have selected Kokalakis to take this contract on our behalf, and we hope that council will agree with us and award the contract to them. So as you may know, this started out as a design build went out. So we have actually 2 funding points for this, 2 pockets of money. We are so excited that it's come back considerably lower than what we expected it to be. And we are ready to go to work on this project. So you want to give some more costs? So what are the costs? I think that's what that everybody is most concerned about. So back in 2016, there was a bank note that came to us and about a 2.6 million that came from solid waste. I know we're seeing a lot of work come from the project that's on 34th Street involving the waste to energy project with solid waste. The Tampa Police Department was displaced as part of that. That is why we have this project. We had property purchased for us at 5005 North Howard, and between the purchase of the property and the design, we have spent approximately $7 million thus far. We are asking for the completion of the project to be done. We will only need about 29 million more, which is considerably less when I was before council before for the 40 million, because Kokalakis came back at 21 million. And then what we need for committed things like the furniture and to move furniture and move all of our employees in there, the T&I infrastructure, that will account for the remaining $7 million. That brings us up to about 29 million, plus the 3% contingency that we need in case there's any unforeseen cost. So that's where we're at with this project.
Okay. Councilman Miranda, your light was on. Did you want to speak?
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I always like to go and stop there with the car, but I'm not with the car.
Okay, Councilman Maniscalco, then Councilwoman Hurtak.
So without any hiccups, when do you anticipate beginning construction and how long is the process going to take?
So we bring it back to council, we think we said April 2nd for the first reading, and then we'll come back on the 16th, and then we can start shoveling the next day.
And when do you have a completed estimated completion date or no?
So there's several phases in this project, but approximately 18 months to finish the building. The T&I infrastructure and the finishing of the pond may take up to 6 months longer, but not much more. So that's just a little bit.
So a ribbon cutting in 18 months after you begin construction?
Yes,
give or take.
yes.
Okay. These prices that you're showing, so Kokalakis came in at 21.7 million, and then you had the additional 7 million?
Yes,
Okay, and that is everything. There are no extra costs or extra surprises or anything further beyond that?
no.
Okay. And this is a guaranteed maximum price, or is it an estimate, or are we gonna have the same discussion from before where, you know, there's a budget resolution where we need another $5-10 million, anything like that?
This, Richard Mutterback, Director of Contract Administration, and this is not a GMP because that, you know, that's associated with a design build. This was actually bid. This was a hard bid. Specifications were put out, advertised, and these three contractors came back with these prices. So, I mean, in order to make any changes to, they would have to do a change order in order to add anything to this.
Okay, now what about the rent that we're paying to, I believe it's Crockett's, it's like $10,000 a month? What happens to that now that it's not an impound lot and, you know, the changes that have come in?
Yeah, so I've spoke to our legal counsel, Mike Schmid, on that several times. We will still need to occasionally impound cars, so any bills associated with that will still have to be paid to Crockett's, but we will not occupy the property with people there. So our employees will all come over to the new location, and through attrition, we will probably not need as many employees. I know we won't, but, so we will be able to have less employees.
So the original idea of the impound lot is not gonna be there. It's gonna be on a smaller scale, so you can do it, but it's not gonna be the impound lot, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Like, I can give you an example, like, our street anti-crime worked some prostitution stings recently, so we can impound those cars. $500, the city ordinance is what we collect. We can now, what we've done now is like, okay, they come pay us the lien we have on the car, the city does the 500, we give them like a pink slip, they go to Crockett's, they pay Crockett's for their towing and storage. Crockett's handles the whole thing of the towing and storage. We're not housing those cars, we won't have to do that anymore. So we're saving a lot of space.
Now, since you're saving a lot of space, I know there were trees that were gonna be removed. Are those trees gonna be preserved? Do you know anything about that, or is it too early to ask?
No, not too early to ask. So there's actually 2 parcels of land. The original impound lot was about 4 acres. This overall, the 2 parcels is 8 acres. So the northern part is almost 4 acres. We will not disturb those trees. There are some trees. We did have an arborist come out there for our parking lot and the pond. There will be some trees removed, but the majority of the trees will stay.
Okay, and then last question regarding stormwater. Are you, the way it will be built, does that, the stormwater investments that we're making, is that enough to handle what we need for, you know, you're talking 8 acres. I mean, is it gonna be sufficient?
Yes, it's enough. It goes, that stormwater pond actually goes all the way north into the other part of the land.
Okay.
And if we do at a later date decide we want to develop that, it will accommodate that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman,
Mr. Councilman Randall.
if I may, along.
No, I was next.
Oh, I'm sorry. I yield to the
I'm sorry.
former.
I think
Thank
he
you.
had his light on. I thought he changed his mind.
It's all right.
Okay, go ahead. Councilman.
So how will the 30 paved large parking spots be used?
So those are tandem spaces. So we plan to use those for our large vehicles, like our command post, and some of those larger vehicles that we have, our hostage negotiation van. But we also will use them for any high-value vehicles that we have to store that are for evidentiary purposes. Those spaces are very large. A normal parking space is about 9 feet wide, and that's what those are supposed to be. But in reality, we can squeeze a lot into those because whatever we put there will not have to be moved if it's for evidence reasons. But it won't be for the impounding of like the prostitution cars or the cars that we take for parking division because they were booted and they owe us so much money. So that's the majority of the cars we have. But once the state attorney says there's no more value in holding this car as evidence, then we will move that over to a private vendor.
How will the new enclosed garage space be utilized outside of the 2 vehicle evidence bays?
So there's actually 3 evidence bays. 2 will have lifts.
Okay.
So those are to process the cars. And then we don't have any lifts right now. We formerly had lifts on 34th Street, but we will have the lift to bring the car up for processing of the evidence and looking to see where they've concealed it anything that's inside of there, examine the car. The additional garage space is used, which we use now in our police garage, which takes a lot of room, is our forensics vans. So there's a lot of sensitive equipment in there that can't be exposed to light. And also then when the forensic technicians return, we hear the rain right now, we don't want them carrying evidence into the rain. So they will be undercover like they are now at headquarters.
Okay, so kind of to go on what Councilman Maniscalco asked, an impound lot will no longer be on this site. How much space is available to build on that space that was dedicated, that was originally dedicated to the impound lot? So if we wanted to build something else there in the future, how much more land is available for that?
Well, that would be the property that's north of there, which is about 4 acres, but that's all the trees.
But you said that some of that is for stormwater, but how much is left, trees or no trees?
I would have to get someone to go out there with me to do an exact measurement for you, but that whole parcel up there is 4 acres.
Yes.
So maybe, I don't think that stormwater pond on the north part takes up more than half an acre.
Okay.
But
So there's 3.5 acres left to build?
yeah, somewhere
if
between 3.5
necessary.
and 4 acres. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Councilman Maniscalco already asked about the stormwater. So what you're saying is that the stormwater could accommodate the building that we're building plus anything we built in those 3.5 acres.
Yes, absolutely. It's built to accommodate what we are building and should we build in the future on the 3.5 acres. Yes.
Okay, so it is big enough.
Yes.
So you're saying that we're still gonna be renting, we're still gonna be renting from Crockett's. How much are we expecting? Because right now it's $10,000 a month. What are we expecting it to be in the future?
It depends on how many crimes are committed, what the average tow bill is at the time. So we roughly, it's really being at Crockett's is cost neutral to us because our average bill for tow trucks and everything up to about $10,000, I'm told by Mr. Schmidt.
So I don't understand. I mean, right now we're paying $10,000 a month, and the whole point of this initially was so we weren't paying $10,000 a month. So how are we going to stop paying other people to hold stuff? Because if we're putting all of our money into paying for this, we shouldn't have to be paying any impound fees anymore.
So we will turn those fees over to the tow truck company, like I said, with the example of the cars are taken for prostitution, and they will collect those fees. But right now, it's about $10,000 because we're holding the cars.
At Crockett's?
Yes, we're holding the cars at Crockett. So if there's a car that we have to hold, maybe it's the parking division, this car has $14,000 worth of parking citations, and we're holding that car until they pay it off, then we're responsible for that bill. And then maybe if they never pay it off, then we go with forfeiture and get our money back, so.
Okay, so I would love when you bring back the final, if you could kind of work to figure out what that projection would be monthly. There has to be a way to project what you anticipate spending on that. So I would love to know what the department anticipates, because you can project how many cars you're going to hold within a year. I mean, that's how we got to this 10,000 number to begin with, knowing how much land we needed. So I would love a projection. I mean, obviously it's not going to be perfect, but just a projection of what we expect to spend per month.
Okay,
on that going
we can do
forward.
our best. I can only tell you that 2 months ago we had 60 cars, and then they did a prostitution sting, and we have 100 cars, and we're getting rid of them.
Yeah,
so we
sure,
don't have months like that.
Yeah,
so yeah, there will be. It depends.
Yeah.
You know, crime is down, so hopefully those costs continue to go down.
Yeah, but maybe just look at the last couple of years, see how it's gone, and just see what we might. Because again, this just goes toward what we're trying to do. So I appreciate that. So Wilder Architecture is serving as the project manager. Why are we using an architect as a project manager?
So Jeffrey bless his heart, Jeffrey Wilson is not here with us anymore. So when this project first started, it was under logistic asset management. I'm a police officer. I can go and get you a kilo of cocaine on a reverse case, or I can arrest that John, but I can't tell you how to build a project. So I defer to my expert here, Mr. With Water, Mr. Thompson, and he tells me that this is what, Chief Kate, this is what you should do. This is the best practices. This is, we're online here.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because it's a little odd.
When we
choose an
put this out there for a
architect.
project manager, I mean, it goes out to our architecture and engineering firms.
Okay.
Who do, I mean, and.
So they were chosen.
Yes.
Yes.
They had the availability and, yes.
Okay. And we found out, we heard from public comment this morning about the new barriers that were purchased, or that we're purchasing, the 60 new big heavy barriers. And so I asked, where are we going to store these? And I was told they're going to be stored here at this new Howard Avenue site. So where are we going to store stuff like that?
So I think that's on 8 trailers, and we could accommodate that.
Okay, so that's part of the 30 paved large parking spots.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, they're being stored near, at the training facility.
Okay, and then one last question about the numbers again. So it's $21.7 million to build, $7 million already spent for land and design.
Yes.
So total is 27 million. There's 29 million. That's it. That's all we're spending.
No, that's what we need to finish a project is 29 million. We've spent 7 million so far, but remember there's part of the project that is the owner's fees that we will be paying, like the allowance for furniture, moving the furniture, relocation of evidence. We do have to work with the bicycle storage, the permitting fees, the T&I. That doesn't go under Kokalakis's part. So that's what we are.
So what you're saying, so how much is that then?
That's projected to be about 7 million.
So it's 21 million, 21.8 million plus 7 million plus 7 million.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the 40 million we projected.
It's right around 35 million.
So we only got 5 million off.
I'm sorry?
We only got 5 million off of this.
No, total, we had two projects. Remember, we have design, bid, build, and then now we put it out. So in order for it to be built, we were asking for the 40 million for it to be built. We had already encumbered the money for what we had done so far. So you will be getting back about a little 11.6 million.
So, oh, that's right. Mr. Perry, this actually started total as a $48 million project.
Yes.
Correct?
That is
Okay.
correct. Mike Perry, Revenue
Okay.
Finance. $48 million project. We're coming in depending, we're doing some last minute reconciliations with items to be bought by the city, et cetera. So we estimate that the total project will be between about 33 to $36 million. So when we come back to you with the GMP, we'll have all those numbers finalized. And the good thing is, we'll actually present you a financial resolution that reduces the budget for the project, to answer Mr. Maniscalco's question.
Okay, that's great. And you're bringing this back in April?
Whenever you approve the GMP, we'll have the accompanying financial resolution with that.
Okay. And when do you expect to get the GMP?
Again, there's no GMP. This was a bid. We already have it. The Kokalakis, the firm, is just waiting for us to award the project.
Okay, so
this being over $20 million, by ordinance, we have to bring it twice with 14 days in between. And with the second meeting this month being the 26th, then April 2nd, there's not 14 days in between that, and there may be some scheduling conflict. So we had originally planned on bringing it to 26th with the second reading for the actual award on April 16th. But now it may be April 2nd, April 16th due to some
Okay.
scheduling.
Okay, so really what you're saying is what we're looking at is $22 million for the build instead of the 40.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what you're coming to us for.
We're bringing
So
that
not a
award
guaranteed maximum
for
price,
$22 million.
but just
And
the
then
build.
the budget itself that accommodates those soft costs that we've been talking about, that's a budget portion there.
The only thing I would also like to see is some sort of guarantee for the 7 million build out. Because I don't want this project to end in 18 months and then you come and say, well, actually we need 10.
Well, I'm hoping to actually give you money back, so some of that
Okay.
money accounts for like the refrigerators and stuff. So we have to account for those. If we can safely move those and repurpose those, then you'll
Okay.
get money back.
Okay.
I don't foresee coming back and saying, I need $3 more million for furniture or
Okay.
storage equipment or anything. That shouldn't ever happen. That's,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you so much for the work you put into this, and to be able to take almost $13 million off what we estimated is really wonderful. So, congratulations.
Also on the build out, we're not using a contractor for that, so we're not having to pay an overage fee or management fee on that. So we're doing that, most of that stuff ourselves, the equipment, like the refrigerators and equipment and stuff like that. We're using City of Tampa purchasing departments for those things.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
we'll be using
So we're-
purchasing.
So we're not having to pay a contractor premium because we're using our in-house people to do that stuff, I believe, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there really won't be a bid price because we're using our own people. Councilman
If I
Brown.
may, thank you so much. I know the area pretty well. Coached there for 10 years on Wellswood side. And that center field and right field dead drain that way. And it flooded often. So I don't know if you still have that same problem there or not on your southeast portion of the property. I don't know if it still drains, or if it still stays without drainage, because the last time I saw it, it was kind of wet.
I have to look into it.
Yeah, I'm just saying
not-
that.
Yeah, I'm not
Watch out for
aware.
that. And the
I'm
next
not
thing
aware
is,
of it.
Since you have different types of cars there, I would imagine that once in a while a dog would come in to sniff around, make sure that not inside the wheel well. You're not going to take up car part just to take a guess at it. You're going to have to find out either whatever means you have or a dog to sniff it out, and that's when you do your work. And so you have that. And different cars have different crimes for different things. So the value of the car has little to do with what's inside the car at the time you pick it up.
That's correct.
So these are the things that you have to look for, and I would imagine that your price guaranteed to build does not include items like furniture.
Correct.
So that's another thing we haven't discussed, and I'm not into that. That's what you have to do when you set up your department of setting all the intricate whatever you pick up in the street that you have to show as evidence in the future. You have to have that in a special area located where no one can get in other than the person who has the key.
Correct.
So these are the things that you have to do to make sure that your case, whatever the case may be, when you bring it to court, that you're 1, 2, 3, 4, all in order, so that no one can say, hey, I object because of this or that or the other.
Yes.
So these are the things that we're solving to get the city of Tampa back on record. Orlando has it, other cities have it. We have ours on what? Paper boxes.
Yeah, cardboard boxes.
So it gets wet, the evidence is gone. It catches fire, the evidence is gone. But these are the things that we're looking at to make sure that your continuation on crime is dropping. You all have done a magnificent job for some period of time. So kudos to, or not you, but everybody in your department, from the chief on down to the new hire yesterday. So I'm proud of you guys, what you're doing, and this will at times save you a lot of money because you must be running something and doing something that you're not doing now, and I'm not privy to all that. But thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll close it up with, I've been a little bit skeptical of this project from day one, mostly because of cost and the budget implications, and also with the knowing that we have an impending issue with Big Blue and relocation. One last question. How many employees, after this relocation, how many employees do you think will be left at Big Blue?
Approximately 300.
Okay, very good. Well, that being said, I mean, I'm much more agreeable to the project, and I appreciate. I know it's been frustrating for you and everybody involved in this from y'all's behalf, but as we're trying to manage so many needs in the city, it's difficult. It's like trying to keep all the balls in the air, and it's difficult with rising costs and all these unknowns out there. So I appreciate you sticking with us, and thanks for working through the process and getting the bids in that are relatively reasonable considering the scope of the project. So thanks, I appreciate that. I look forward to you all coming forward with the resolution and getting that on our calendar. And I think we're done with this now. We're good?
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That concludes our regularly scheduled program. We have done with our regular business, and we are now down to new business. I'm going to start with Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. Two quick ones, if I may. Did everybody get the invitation on Sunday evening for the Ramadan event?
Yeah,
Everybody?
I'll be there.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I was asked to do, that's why I pulled Mr. Shelby out, either a resolution or a commendation. And so therefore, it would be easier to do a commendation. So therefore, I motioned to do a commendation for the, I believe it's Muslims for Democracy and Fairness. For their Muslim heritage and Ramadan event, and we're all presented, it's, if I may.
It's off-site then.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We have a motion, Councilman Vieira, second for Councilman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, council. I am going to pass this out. Just for background on this, I'm not going to make the motion today, but I would urge everybody to take a look. I'm going to send you all the Tampa Bay Times article on this young woman, Amanda Cardoso, who was a Cuban immigrant who was getting booted from our country while pregnant. And attorney Sam Badawi, who's a dear friend of mine, took on her case pro bono. And this is like amazing. Like I want you all to see the case background before, but this is, it's heartbreaking, and we should definitely honor that. But I'll get that if I may.
Do you remember what our rules on city council, they'll make you think so?
Commendations?
Well, it has to have to do with
City
visits.
It does, a lot of Cubans here. So there you go.
I would rule that not qualifying.
But if I may, I do also have a motion. Where is this? Mr. Chair, can I go back after board
absolutely.
member Young?
Yep, go ahead.
I have to find this.
We will defer to Councilwoman Young.
Okay, so I have a few things. So I did, recently I did a community tour with CEO and founder of Faith Action Ministry Alliance, FAMA, which is Pastor Alfred Johnson, in Grant Park, and my legislative aide Darlene and I, and it was awesome. They have the Grant Park Christian Academy, which is the FAMA school, is located at New Testament Worship Center in Grant Park. And FAMA, along with an alliance of partners, provides numerous community services dedicated to transforming their neighborhood through collaboration and door-to-door services. I think it's the Arizona State University nursing students actually go out into the community and go in, door-to-door, talking with community and seeing what kind of needs they have. That's how they actually get like their field experience while in school. And they have the new education building, which they're going to use for mentoring services in Grant Park and extending out into Highland Pines. They even have a lot of their like unhoused population and teenagers that are also helping. Like as we were in the tour, they were actually helping to keep their neighborhood clean. And it was really amazing to see, just like you seeing the transformation in the neighborhood, but how the community is working together to transform their neighborhood is really remarkable. And so I was very happy to see that. And I was telling Pastor Johnson, I said, I would love to be able to replicate this throughout our district 10, 20 times, and really seeing how the community works together. So I was very happy to see that. I also did a tour with Carl Johnson, the owner of the Florida School of Woodwork. And we toured we call it the Yellow Brick Road businesses. And so we went to the Rialto Theater, Hitting Springs Ale Works, and the Billers with the hot tubs and Billers by Robertson's. So it was really neat just to see as well. Another awesome example of just community and everyone kind of working together to build up that corridor. So it was very nice. I also went to the historic Belmont Heights neighborhood meeting where I also shared the success of Grant Park, and I, said I would love to be able to replicate this. And the community members that were there were like, they were on board as well. So it was really nice. And I just also wanted to just let community know that I've already kind of just been in conversation with code enforcement and other departments to address the issue that came up about the corner stores. But also just with cleaning up in the community, it's come to me multiple times that the community wants to clean up their neighborhoods. And so we've been working on that. Our office has been working on that. And then I heard earlier about assistance, with our elderly before we get to the point where we have to intervene and put liens on the homes. What can we do to prevent that? So those are just some things that we've been kind of talking about. So that I just wanted to share that. And then I have 3 motions that I want to make. So we know that the Planning Commission has finished the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action Plan, and so I want to move to make a motion for staff to give a final report on the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action Plan at the May 7th Tampa City Council meeting.
Second.
Yes.
And we have room on that?
I think,
Okay.
I think so.
And have you looked at that?
And I did ask them if that date was okay, and they said, yeah.
May 7th?
It's
And
okay?
How many?
We're good? Okay, good.
Okay.
So it's a
We have-
staff
we have-
report? I'm sorry, staff report. Thank you. And did you say it was the planning commission staff or city staff?
So it would be, a
City
planning.
Or
city
you could just ask
staff.
for staff and then just determine afterwards?
Yeah, for them to determine who would need to come, because
Well-
I just put staff, but I think it's probably city planning
Is
department.
it going to be, would it be the action plan would be related to the city code? Would it be a city, is it the planning commission or is it the city?
What was the planning commission that,
If it's the
Yeah,
planning commission, they
mhm.
would have to be invited, or at least aware of it somehow through your office.
So Darlene would have to reach out to him.
okay.
You could,
No,
you
no,
you
Yeah,
could
well,
request,
you-
you could
Yeah,
request,
I'll-
you could request staff and then just follow up with your
Okay,
office.
because okay, that's fine.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Young, a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, and then I would also, now this one, I'd like to make a motion to request the city planning department and the Silver Springs Neighborhood Action Plan Technical Working Group to work with other departments to develop a specific budget request to take the next steps on a catalyst project or program for Sulphur Springs based on the priority actions and needs identified by the community in the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action Plan and the priority list provided to us by the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action League.
We have a motion,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Young, a second from Councilwoman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I
Opposed?
have
Ayes
talked
it.
to them already about this and told them that I was going to make this motion, that this was coming up.
Okay.
And then my last motion, I would like to make a motion to have code enforcement give a 5 to 10 minute report on May 7th to report on how the city is maintaining and cleaning city-owned lots, and for those that are not being maintained and cleaned, what are their plans to be better stewards of our properties?
What was the date for the one we just did? The one. So then.
This one was May 7th.
Okay, so that fills us up, right?
So I think we only had 2 on May 7th, yeah, so I did May 7th.
But I mean, but you just added 3, right? Just the 2, okay. Okay, we have a motion.
No, I have the one for them to come, of staff to come to give the final report just on the neighborhood action plan. And then I want the plan department and the technical, because, so for that project, they actually had like a technical working group. Yeah, if they can, if that's not too much. I mean, maybe they can make it like one, they can maybe combine
But I
them.
mean, just that fills up that date, just to make sure people
Okay,
understand.
is that
this.
okay
Yes,
with
oh, yes,
everybody?
fine, that's fine.
Okay.
You just beat Viera to it.
Uh-oh. Did you
Filling
need
up
that
a
date?
date.
Oh,
No,
no.
Okay.
If you didn't do it, Viera would.
Okay. And the reason I did that is because so we're gonna present the plan, but now I want them to work with like the actual technical working group to see, okay, out of this plan, what is actually feasible for us to do and how do we move like to get to the next step? So that's why I did it that way.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. So we had a motion from Councilwoman Young. Who was the second on that one?
Second.
Maniscalco. Second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it unanimously.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
I'm done.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Councilman
remembered
Viera, we're
I
going
had
back to Councilman Viera.
Thank you very much. So this is a motion for real estate. It's just merely for a written report on May 7th, again, just in writing. So there is in Washington, D.C., a memorial to victims of communism that exists. And I've been working for a while with a lot of different Hispanic groups and Vietnamese groups, because we have a lot of folks here in Tampa who come as refugees from communist countries, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. And there's been a lot of interest in having some sort of a memorial for victims of communism. I had Sebastian print out the memorial here for it. So this is not for funding for the memorial or anything of that nature. I would anticipate we could hopefully get that from Tallahassee. This is merely for real estate and parks and recreation to report on possible land within the city of Tampa that would be available for a memorial for victims of communism, a written report on May 7th.
Okay, I'll throw myself on the sword on this one, Councilman Viera. I love you. I love you just more than just about anybody, but that is so far outside of the scope of what we do on city council.
No,
I mean-
we have all sorts of memorials.
Well,
I
and
mean,
some-
I don't.
Yeah, but it's not something that the city it's kind of outside the purview of what, and I think we faced this really soon after I came on council because we had gotten down the rabbit hole on some of these things, especially when they teeter on politics or
I don't-
any of the hot button items in
I
our
don't think
society.
that, I don't think that people
Well,
who
we
flee
may- we may-
communist countries is a hot button issue.
We may have some communists in the country, in the city of Tampa that may disagree with you.
Well, the
Councilwoman
hell with them
Hurtak.
then. I mean,
So are you talking about people who are victims of communism in the United States?
No, no, no,
Then,
no.
then I'm not understanding why.
Fleeing, in other words, people who fled communist countries
But-
as refugees.
But I'm just not sure why we need to have a monument here for that.
Because we have many folks here. We have people like my family who came from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Vietnam. There's a ton here for that. It is something that is very unique to the Tampa experience. There are many, many people like that.
I don't know.
That's it. I mean, it's no different than if we were to do a memorial for different tragedies that have happened throughout history, whether it's the Holocaust or whatever it may be. It's proper for cities to have memorials to things like that. I see no challenge with that
So
whatsoever.
we have a motion for Councilman Vera. Is there a second? Hearing no second. Love you.
And wait, is there a second from anyone on this? Because I will call this out. I'm sorry. This is garbage. Like this, I should get a second on this.
I mean, I'll give you the second.
Thank you. Let's have a vote on this.
We
And
haven't
again,
been doing
this
it
is,
for the Indians who were killed by the American soldiers,
then
slaughtered
let's,
for no
if
reason.
somebody brings it up, I would be
I mean,
respectful to that too.
I'm tired of this, I really am. I can't, I love you, everything else, but I can't continue this.
Yeah, and again, this
We have
is
to- we
not
have to
for
draw the
city
line.
funding for the memorial. This is for potential spots for it. In the event that we work with Tallahassee, as I'm talking with people there about potentially funding one.
Well, why don't we
That's it.
find out what you want to do, get the funding and everything else, then we'll give the
That is,
property, but.
that is
now
what I
we're
want
putting
to
the
do.
cart before the horse.
Look, if y'all want to vote against it.
I'm
have
not
at
voting
it.
against, it. I'm not voting, period.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Nay.
abstain.
Roll call, please. Roll call.
I hate to do this.
I know.
Funded by the federal government.
Don't we have a rule?
No, there's a law that says unless you have a direct financial interest, you cannot abstain.
Oh, you were going there. I thought you were going to talk about a rule about what council can, because we have that rule about what we can make motions on.
Well, you do have rules about that. I don't think anything directly applies to what Councilman Vieira was saying. But just a reminder that if you're silent, then that counts as an affirmative vote under Robert's rules. And if you,
I'm not afraid to vote, I just don't like to get surprised like this.
well, then maybe the
How about
maker of
this,
the motion,
How about this, if I may, as a professional courtesy, if somebody says they're surprised, I respect that, Councilman Miranda. So how about this? I will, unless, is there support for this right now? But this is not controversial. There is no surprise. I have no idea how in the world this is something that's controversial.
It's just that step over the line of what's within our purview.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we were members of Congress and we were dealing with international issues, and I mean, I would get it. You know, but because this is the city of council, just dealing with the boundaries of the city of Tampa, we deal with land use, we deal with trash, we deal with water, we deal with, you know, all these things. It's just outside of our scope.
We just did a commendation that I'm going to be presenting for Muslim Heritage Month. This is about the heritage of people who come here to Tampa, right, fleeing communism from countries. It's about the immigrant experience. That's not controversial. That's not. But I didn't think there'd be any pushback to this, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I know. Well, I still have a motion and I have a second. Roll call, please.
Miranda,
No,
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Hurtak,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Carlson is absent, and Clendenin.
No?
Motion failed due to a tie vote and lack of a majority.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate, counsel. That's very sad. I mean that. This goes to something where people need to be educated more so on the experiences of people and how they came here. This is nothing that is controversial whatsoever. This is not a foreign policy issue. This is an immigration issue in terms of our immigrant experience here to Tampa.
Councilman
And
Hernandez.
that's, yeah.
And I think that if you can get some state or federal dollars to talk more about it and like to be
Yeah.
more concrete, it's a different story.
I was trying to, and I don't want to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying that you know, if the federal government is saying, hey, yeah, we want to do this, and here, let's help find a location, but we're not there yet.
I'll just go to the county, that's it.
Okay, skipping Councilwoman Hurtak, Councilman Maniscalco, do you have any new business?
Yeah, just 2 items. I'd like to make a motion to remove my motion on the calendar for council to discuss the council salary on September 24th. I originally made this motion on behalf of Councilmember Hurtak, and it's duplicated. So I'm looking at the calendar for September 24th, and it says council to discuss salary, but it says council to discuss salary for future election.
okay.
So I want to remove my motion so it's not
Second.
duplicative. Yep.
Thank you for looking at the calendar.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah,
can't
because what
sleep,
would have
you do
happened if you
this.
had two different decisions?
Yeah. And with this council, that is absolutely likely. Yes. We have motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And
Anything
then
else?
just a statement. First, I'd like to say to Councilmember Young, I like that you give updates of what you do. I think it's very good because you work very hard. And I'm glad that you brought up Pastor Johnson, who is the brother of Calvin Johnson from TPD. And I've been out there. They had a law enforcement appreciation event, and it's wonderful. And I love the work that they do. So thank you. So March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and someone very near and dear to my heart has had to suffer, struggle, and survive through that. But the importance of screening and getting tested, because our friend, and I think Councilman Vieira, you might know him, Dr. Love. No. Yeah, Dr. Love. So he's a young physician, and he was on WEDU, I believe, earlier today with Lisette Campos, if you ever watched the show, talking about the rise in patients under the age of 50. So the person that I mentioned was 38 years old, I believe, with the diagnosis. And it's important to get screened, even if you don't have symptoms, minor things, it's just like, with prostate cancer, with so many other issues, it's important to get screened. And if you can catch this early, of course, the survivability raises up. But that is, March is also, it's Women's History Month, correct? So there's a lot of things, but today I'm talking about colorectal cancer awareness. So get screened, even without symptoms. Better be safe. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Miranda, new business?
Yes, sir, I need two, if possible. As finance chair, I make a motion to hear the presentation on April 2nd, 2026 from the city's consultant, Rectilius, regarding the scheduled adjustment of water and wastewater capacity fees. Further, that the Tampa City Council consider an ordinance for adjustment of said fees for first reading on April 2nd, 2026, and second reading on May 7th, 2026. And I'm sure we've gotten some area from that. That's not going to take place until sometime next year.
So the presentation, we have plenty, and then the second, I get the second will just be a second reading, so.
Yeah, right. Second reading on May 7th.
Carton, do you have any questions, Madam Clerk?
I have clarification. You said it's coming on first reading?
First reading on April 2nd,
It's just
and
a
the
reading.
second reading on May 7th.
For the proposed rates?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a reading. Councilwoman Hurtak.
Are we gonna get a briefing before they come on April 2nd?
Well, I don't know. I can arrange it.
Yeah, I just basically talking about the
Yeah.
bit, the surprise
What
with
they came
fleet.
up
I
with,
would love to know
in other
ahead
words,
of time.
If we wanted, when Retalis, I'll ask them to send you all the copies that's coming through
That'd be
to
great.
each council member.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilwoman Miranda, a second from? Second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Okay.
And the second one, I would like to make a motion to have the Revenue and Finance staff to appear and provide a mid-year review on May 21st, 2026, during regular session of the budget.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Anything else, Councilman Miranda?
That's it, sir.
Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay. I'm passing out an email. You got to read from the bottom up. So I do a lot of ride-alongs and visits to different departments, and basically, Kelly and I were told yesterday in a meeting with the mayor that we are no longer going to tolerate us interrupting their work. And so Sal Ruggiero called Kelly and told her that that we are not going to be able to do any ride-alongs or visits during quote-unquote campaign season. So, and this is just fundamentally wrong. It is the proper duty of a representative body to look diligently into every affair of government and to talk much about what it sees, because unless these elected officials have and use every means of acquainting themselves with the acts and disposition of the administrative agents of the government, the county or the country must be helpless to learn how it is being served. That is a quote from Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter, which is a great name, in delivering the opinion of the court in U.S. v. Rumley in 1953. So these words form the basis of the right of members of Congress to visit, inspect, audit, or otherwise monitor on behalf of citizens how their government is operating, which is exactly what we as city council members do for the residents of the city of Tampa. We cannot be their voice if we are not also their eyes and ears. I am proud of my efforts to better understand our city's largest expenditures through ride-alongs in squad cars, fire trucks, helicopters, and garbage trucks, as well as tours of fleet maintenance facilities, water and wastewater facilities, and the IT department. I very rarely publicize these tours because I believe they should be educational and not political in nature. I share my knowledge regularly with community and neighborhood groups, as well as use this knowledge to move forward policy. The decision by this administration to block our access to city government is anti-democratic and I believe personally targeting me as someone who has taken these responsibilities seriously. Every ride-along and visit I have been on has been met with appreciation by city workers with whom I've spent time and improved the system in which they work. This policy was not put into place during the last election cycle, so it's clear that it's arbitrary and capricious. It's intended to harm me, but instead harms all of council and all of the residents of the city of Tampa. Thoughts?
Councilman Miranda. Then
I have
Scott.
been on many ride-alongs, not recently. I've been on some that, we even caught a robber in the second floor of Mistretta grocery store in West Tampa years ago. I've been to peep show. I went to peep shows with a high-ranking police official, and he showed me what the undercover guys were doing. I studied all that. I went through. I've ridden along with in fact, when Greco was mayor and I was chairman, he would ask the chairman every time they called him at midnight, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you were required to go. So both of us would show up, whatever it was, whether it was a killing or a fire or whatever it was, we would show up. And that's what government's all about. So I don't understand it, but it's not my writing.
Councilman Maniscalco.
So it's been a while since I've done ride-alongs. I've done them with the TPD and Tampa Fire, and sadly, on each one, one was a pedestrian fatality on Hillsborough, and we got there. The officer I was with, unbelievable driver, from the Causeway to Hillsborough, and we were there as paramedics were working on the gentleman. The gentleman passed away. And then the last Tampa Fire ride-along I did was right off Florida Avenue. We went into a residence, and a young man came home and found his mother deceased on the couch. She had been sick, and it sticks with you. I mean, it's traumatizing. You know, the poor young man, and then you walk in, I mean, there's the person there. So it gave me greater appreciation for what police and fire go through. I mean, because this is what they see day in and day out. I mean, there's drug overdoses, administering Narcan, I mean, all sorts of stuff in the few times that I've done it. Now, doing a ride-along, I mean, is this specific to ride-along or also site visits? Are you allowed to go to a fire station or code enforcement offices?
I'm taking it as a no, because I was just wanting to go along with code enforcement, because we're hearing, my office has been hearing tons of complaints about code enforcement. So what I did is I did a ride along with code compliance for the building department. So I had done that first. I sat through code enforcement hearings at Hannah City Center, and then I was gonna do this code enforcement ride along. So it's unfortunate that now they really want to prevent city council from doing city business. It's very funny because I never talk about these. I don't politicize them at all.
No, I know.
But now they want to make this political.
I had somebody tell me one time, he goes, Councilmember Hurtax with a police car at the 7-Eleven on the corner. I go, she's doing a ride-along. I was I live down the street, and I go, she does ride-alongs, and it's
Is she
great.
in handcuffs?
But if I get it. The ride-alongs are great. They're very interesting. But if we're allowed to still visit fire stations, police substations, Big Blue. I mean, they're not gonna let you into the evidence room, stuff like that. I mean, but I don't know. So this has been, it's been said or alleged that we can't do, I mean, if Councilman Vera wants to bring, pastries to the fire department, are we allowed to do that? Or like, we can't even walk on the property, or what is it?
I don't know, and I think that's the kind of the point, is that this is not the issue. The issue is we, as a body that determines how money is spent, should be able to see how that money is spent. Like, I've been up in the helicopter because people keep asking about what's going on. So I did that and was able to talk to people about it. I saw how our money is being spent. I mean, it's now when I fund that, I don't have to ask questions about it. I know where all that money's going.
Okay, Councilwoman Young and then Councilman Vera.
Well, I would just say, I've talked about my ride-alongs, especially, being new on council. It's been awesome, and I mean, I still have some coming up, so hopefully we don't get any calls or emails. But I think it's been I think it's extremely helpful because you get to really see the inner workings. When I went to, we did the fire station number 18. When we got there, they were actually on a call, and we were able to go inside and see that they have, their station was built in 1950s. They still have the original tile from in there. We went into the back and see, and we and Darlene were looking at each other like, okay, what can we do to help this fire station? But we would not have known that if we didn't go there. I've done my ride along with code enforcement, and we have I'm already wanting to schedule a part 2 because my district is huge, so there's a lot of area to cover. But when we were out there, we got to see the people that were working. They take us into the area and say, so this is, the issue with this is, because this is this owned by this road. So you really get to see what people are dealing with, whether it be community members or the actual staff, and how they're dealing. And if you won't be able to know that unless you are there and you actually get to see and experience it with your own eyes. So I'm hoping that this is something that, we're not gonna do that, because I'm speaking for me, but I think I can speak for all of us, that it helps us to see, again, where's the money going? Because people ask, oh, you all are spending money on this, or now I can speak and say, this is why we're doing this. I've seen it with my own eyes, that we need more staff here, that they need an updated this. That's the only way that we can do our jobs. So I have some things coming up. I should not be receiving any emails or calls about that I can't do anything, because I'm a very nice person, but I don't want to have to be unkind. So please.
Point taken.
Yeah.
Councilman Vera.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental issue isn't, number one, like, we're a year from a campaign, so I don't think it's campaign season, number one. And unless and I know this isn't the case, if somebody, I'm not going to say Councilwoman Hurtak, she wouldn't do that. If somebody goes with a city employee and starts to film a political video or what have you, that's obviously improper. There's no evidence that that's being done. There's no allegation that that's being done whatsoever. And again, we're a year away from, I filed for State House in April of last year, and I've probably visited God knows how many fire and police stations since then. And, so long as it's not interfering with the function of that public servant, I see no challenge with it. I don't. And everybody is up for election or re-election in one way or another, and that doesn't preclude us from going on ride-alongs. And again, you have to treat this regardless of who the person is, regardless of whoever's candidate may be or what have you, like whether it's Mayor Buckhorn in 2015, Mayor Castor in 2023 for re-election, any of us, it's a principle that applies as opposed to the individual person. And so long as there's no abuse of it, I fail to see the reason for such a rule.
I'd like to make a motion that Tampa City Council unanimously requests that the administration rescind their position on open access to members of Tampa City Council to City of Tampa facilities, including ride-alongs. That open access ensures fiscal responsibility and transparency amongst the decision makers of the City of Tampa.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I second that, but also, as campaign season begins or what, I mean, just be aware, and I know, I'm not saying anybody would do this, but don't do political videos and stuff like that. I mean, if you have questions, go to the unions and whatnot, and code enforcement is different.
Also,
But-
because you have the run of risk of getting the city, we won't get in trouble for it. You run the risk of getting the city employee.
Yeah, and out of respect to them and as a courtesy, so, all right.
What's interesting to me is that all of us have already, well, you were not here for that, but all of us and you weren't either, but all of us ran for reelection and had no problem. I was able to do all the visits I wanted to during my last reelection. Interesting. But I'm fascinated that you are allowed to keep yours because you've already filed for office too.
Yeah,
So again, that's just showing that it's personal against me. So we'll see what happens. But I second. So I have a motion from Chair Clendenin. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Anything else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay. Motion to receive and file, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. I will see you guys at 9 a.m. at Hannah Center.
Over at Hannah tomorrow?
Hannah.
Yes.
Like sneakers.
Oh.
Anything except a G-string.
I don't think
I believe that might have been on the air.
Especially